It's the weekend and you have financial questions that need answering. That can only mean one thing. It's time for Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome, welcome. It's Jill on Money. This is the program where we take the mystery out of your financial life. I am Jill Schlesinger. The we that I mentioned is Mark Talercio. He is the executive producer. He is my partner in this. And what we try to do is encourage you to ask the questions that are on your mind. And of course, the new year is a wonderful time to think about this. So maybe there are some changes you're contemplating. Maybe it's a career change. Gosh, I've heard from so many of you who are really thinking about doing something different. If that's the case, all you need to do is go to the Jill on Money website, jillonmoney.com, and there you can click the contact button. Try to give us as many details as you can and click the little box that says whether or not you want to join us on the program. That's what Beverly did. Beverly is joining us from the Capital One Bank virtual studios. Capital One, this is banking reimagined. What's in your wallet? Hi, Beverly. How can we help you out?
Okay, been listening to you for a long time, so I'm really excited to hear your thoughts about this. Basically, my husband and I were married back in 1980, and we started our traditional account back then. Since it was in retirement, and that's mostly what our money has been in, we didn't really look at it. And so now our portfolio is about 80% stocks and 20% bonds.
Wow.
Basic thing is I'm not worried too much because I don't need a lot of money to live on. So if something happens, I have cash and my situation is good. But the question comes, do I still invest in bonds when they keep going down? Our full service broker doesn't seem to think it's a good idea for bonds right now. I slowly am moving our cash to Vanguard and Schwab, but it's just painful to see that the only thing the bonds are doing is going down. So what do you recommend?
Yeah. Okay. So let's do a little bit of details here. So how old are you?
67.
And husband?
Husband passed away in February. I keep saying I shouldn't, but I have to get you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It happens. Life moves on, doesn't it?
I guess it sucks though.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you retired or still working?
Retired.
And what did you do for a living?
Different things. The last thing I did was a teacher. So I have a small pension, but not very big because I mostly just did substitute teaching.
Uh-huh. How much is the pension?
$500 is after my taxes I take out of it and stuff.
Okay. And are you collecting Social Security yet?
Yes. After my husband passed, the amount went to about $900 a month after Medicare and stuff.
Okay. Do you have any other sources of income besides the pension and Social Security?
Just dividends.
Okay. What do you figure you need to live on a month? You have $1,400. What is it? What else do you need to fill the gap?
Well, I haven't really done much since my husband passed. Prior to that, it was around $4,000 a month. I haven't had to get too much out of the savings since he passed, with stimulus checks and miscellaneous things going on. So I haven't really needed a lot of extra income.
Right now, how much is in the emergency reserve or the cash position?
About $70,000.
Do you own your home or do you rent?
We own.
How much is the house worth?
Well, it's a 4-unit apartment building, so that's
already I'm excited.
And
well, wait a second. You live in one of the 4 units?
Yes.
And you rent the other 3 out?
Well, technically, I own it with my brother, and so he lives in one, and then my 2 sons live in the other 2 with their families, and we get rent from them. So 2 of them are rented out, so to speak.
Okay. How much is the rent?
It is probably about, from the 2 other rents, I'll say probably a little under $3,000.
All right. I'm going to call it $3,000. Do you mind? Let me make my life easy here. Yeah. Does that $3,000 a month cover the expenses for the 4-unit building?
Yes.
More than covers or just covers?
It more than covers because I don't see it that much because my brother did it and now my daughter-in-law is doing all the paperwork for it. So I never really see what goes into the apartment.
Okay. What's the intention with the 4-unit building? Keep it forever, sell it, let it go down to the next generation. What do you think?
Keep it forever. We bought it in 1980, so the capital gains on it would be horrendous because we bought it for $300,000 and it's now probably, oh gosh, since we've had it for over 40 years, 3 million, maybe 2 million.
Holy smokes. But you've always all lived there together? I'm sort of intrigued by this. We've been hearing about these multi-family living arrangements. It's just quite intriguing to me. So how does it work for you?
Well, when I had my two sons, we lived here and my brother lived upstairs and we rented out the other 2 units.
Uh-huh.
As my sons grew up, they slowly moved into each other unit and started paying rent. And so it slowly became probably like the last 15 years, it's been more of a, quote, family compound is what I call it. So
that's so nice for you.
I like it. Yeah.
What do you mean you like it? You mean your brother doesn't like it and your sons don't like it?
No, he does too. My brother and I have always been really close. So
that is so nice. Is it just the 2 of you?
We have one other sister that's close by and then another brother that's up in Morro Bay.
This is like my dream. My sister is right now looking to buy or to rent in New York City, and I want her to rent in my building. I really would love that. And she goes, don't worry, we'll live together again. When we were young, when we first moved into the city, we lived in the same building, and I was in a studio. I was in unit 401, and she was in unit 301. So I lived on top of her. And we were right on the stairwell. We would run downstairs in our socks and pajamas into each other's apartments. It was fantastic.
Sounds good.
So I think it's a nice thing to have that. It's nice to have a little division. It's good to have a wall.
Yes.
But it's nice to be close also. So this is all good. Presumably in some near-term amount of time, right, that you will need more than $1,400 a month for your living expenses, right? I presume you want to go do stuff. So now I want to know the pots of money that you have saved and what we can draw from to fund that differential. So right now, you told me you have 70 grand in cash. We've got the 4-unit apartment building, which is worth about $3 million. So $1.5 million is your share of it. What else do you have in terms of investments?
We also have one house a couple blocks away that my husband inherited from his mother. That one is worth about 1.4.
What's doing with that?
We were renting it to his daughter and her family.
And are you still doing that?
Yes.
And is that another one of those, like, we give everybody, below market rent?
Yes, that also. And her husband is a great handyman, so he's been keeping a good care of the place.
Is the money that comes in from rental from your, what sounds like a stepdaughter, is that covering the basics and the property taxes or anything, bills associated with that house? And also, if it's more than that, are you using that money?
I am actually putting a little bit money into it because we took a loan, so to speak, from his brother.
Mm-hmm.
And that we were paying his brother off for his portion of the house.
Okay.
And there's only 2 more years on it, so I'm paying a little bit extra so I can get it done just in case. He's like he was 10 years older than me, so he's in his late 70s. So
in 2 years, though, you'll own a $1.4 million property free and clear?
Yes.
Okay, great. We'll get back to Beverly in just a moment. If you have a financial question, just go to JillOnMoney.com, click the contact button, and we'll get your note. We'll be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, and we are going to continue our conversation with Beverly in California in just a second. But, she was getting in touch with us, and she's trying to talk through some general retirement planning questions. And maybe that's something you would like to do. But maybe you need more than just one conversation. Maybe you actually are thinking about a financial advisor. Well, if that's the case, we encourage you to check out our sponsor, Facet Wealth. Facet Wealth provides financial planning for a whole host of different kinds of people, and they do so for a flat fee. And they conduct conflict-free planning. That's kind of cool. And it comes from financial planners, certified financial planners who are fiduciaries who have to act in your best interests. This goal-based financial planning doesn't mean that you have to have gobs of money. There are no wealth or account minimums. Facet meets you where you are. So go check out facetwealth.com. That's their website, facetwealth.com. Okay, so now we've got to get back to Beverly, and we were talking about rebalancing and retirement planning. So let's get back and finish up this question with Miss Beverly. Okay, what about the other assets? So let's talk about, you said you have a broker. You said you've got retirement accounts. What do you got outstanding? What's saved?
Okay, broken down in our taxable accounts is around 300, call it 400,000.
Okay, great.
Tax deferred, a traditional and some 403Bs that I just rolled over and stuff is 527,000.
Great.
And then the Roth is 924,000. We have been slowly converting to our Roth for like 10, 15 years or whatever. Because
are you still doing that?
Yes, I was, up until my husband passed. I converted a bunch this year because I figured this is the last year I'll be filing joint.
So you were converting and your tax bracket was the 22% tax bracket, basically.
This year, our tax bracket was in 12.
You're not going to have that again.
No. Yeah.
Okay, but you could do conversions at 22. But look, you did what you needed to do.
Yeah.
All right. So you've got plenty of money. And so that's all good. And what your initial concern is, I mean, my concern is always to start big and broad. And that is that if I had to generate maybe it's not $2,600 a month, but if I had to generate, 20, 25, 30 grand a year, could I do that from your portfolio? And the answer is absolutely no problem. So then we get to the idea around the composition. And right now you're 80-20. I understand the feeling of why would I want to buy a bond if interest rates are rising, right? But I think the real reason is, and you don't have to do it all at once, and maybe you really are comfortable sort of slowly saying, you know what, as we convert or as I pull money out of my retirement account, maybe what I should do is look at, say, municipal bonds. Maybe you live in a high tax state. And I would be interested in sort of looking to see whether or not, if you're in a higher tax bracket, because money's going to start coming in, right? You're not going to have as many deductions. The house, once you pay off that note for your brother-in-law, I think that there's going to be more. I think you're going to find yourself in a higher tax bracket. You may want to look at municipal bonds. But the real reason to buy a bond is to have more stability of income. The idea of a bond, especially an individual bond, frankly, is that if you hold it until it matures, you get all your money back and it doesn't matter about the price fluctuations. And the real question to you is how many times can you live through the fluctuations before it makes you a little nutty? So let me ask you a real question, because maybe you don't have to do anything. When the markets cratered in the spring of 2020, how did you feel?
No problem.
None at all.
None at all.
I'm a wimp, so I like some stability of income. So I don't like losing at all. And so a bond investment to me, even if it's a bond index fund, that the money that is distributed allows me to buy more bonds as the price goes down and also collect the coupon, right? The interest payment. And I like that. Not for everything, but I do like that. The part of this that's really interesting is that you have a high threshold for being able to absorb near-term loss in stocks or fluctuations, and it really doesn't bug you. And frankly, you got more money than you need to live on, then you shouldn't necessarily feel like you have to move away from your 80-20. If you're an aggressive, you're kind of like, it's weird. You're in a situation where you're kind of investing for your kids because you're not going to use all this money.
Yep.
And if you can absorb that, I have no problem with it. I'm just, like I said, if you feel comfortable with that, if you at age 65 and 66 were like, big deal, market moves, I've been here before, then don't worry about it. There's no like rule of thumb that when you retire, you must put your money in bonds. The rule of thumb has generally been that bond positions offer more consistent income. And so when you lose your income because you stop working, that income from a bond portfolio or fixed portfolio can help diminish the high highs and the low lows in the portfolio, but also really just deliver consistent returns and deliver consistent amount of income. That's it.
Okay, I have a brokerage as well as a Roth account at Vanguard, and I've slowly been putting money into the California tax exempt in the brokerage account.
Okay.
Is that okay to do?
Yeah, perfect.
Like when I called up a couple months ago, the broker at the full service broker, I asked him to look into bonds, and he came back saying, "God, it just really isn't a good time right now." So my question becomes, do I just keep putting it into the tax exempt, or should I?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
I mean, look, I think that when you live in a high tax state, a New York or a California or an Illinois, I think that the state municipal bond funds are preferable, especially in a state like California where you have a ton of liquidity in the bond market. But again, I don't feel like you should do that and feel like you have to be 60-40 by the time you're 70 years old, because it does not sound like that to me. I think you're in great shape. I really do. Okay. And you're a very nice landlady.
Yes. That's what family's for.
Yeah. I mean, and look, I think that the bond market, like the stock market, it's really hard to predict, the right time to do anything. So that's why I think that if you could have a goal and say, in the next few years, I'd really like to be more like 70-30. It'll be easier for me. And, obviously you're going to have required minimum distributions that start up. Yeah. And at that time, it might be nice to have some bonds that are just throwing some money into that money market account and available to you. And obviously, if you do sell the inherited house, there's going to be even more money coming in. So I don't know. I think you're going to have a lot of opportunities to get into the bond market at different points in the next 5, 10, 15 years.
I've been reinvesting the dividends, and I figure if I need the cash, I'll just not reinvest them and leave them in cash and stuff. So,
but can you go out and spend some money? Like, I mean, you sounds like you went through like a real tough time. Your husband died, and now you can go out and the world's opening up. Have some fun.
My husband and I did a lot of traveling back in the day and so forth. And so like travels, I'm not really interested in anymore.
What interests you? What can we interest you in spending money on?
You know what? Right now, my only two interests are playing with my portfolio and also genealogy. My parents came from Pennsylvania, so we've made a trip back there and we want to go again. And I've got to figure out, I figure when the pandemic's over, I'm going to figure out something to volunteer in. So that
would be nice.
Yeah.
I want you to be engaged. You sound lovely, and you're young. You got many years ahead of you. So family, genealogy, and putting your good juju out in the universe, I wholeheartedly endorse that. So Beverly, you're a delight. Thank you so much for joining us today. Okay. If you are like Beverly, if you're like many of the listeners out there, you might have a lot of different questions that are bubbling up. You don't even know where to start. The best place to do that is to start by just going to JillOnMoney.com and bookmark that website. Then when you have a question and you go back to it, you can just click on the contact button, send us your question, and we'll be able to answer it. So easy. Jill on Money will be right back.
Welcome back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger takes the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. So what do you think of that new website? It's pretty cool, right? Love to hear what you think. Don't forget to check out the resource section and let us know if you have found a great resource that we should add to the resource section. Mark and I are always looking for that. So again, JillOnMoney.com, that's the website. Check it out. Let us know what you got. Okay, let's get back to one of your questions. We are about to talk to Katherine in the Pacific Northwest. So welcome, Katherine. How are you and what can we do for you today?
Hi, thank you so much. I am calling kind of like a lot of your callers to find out how am I doing? Am I on track? I have a little bit of extra income every month, about $475, and I am wondering if I should start putting that towards my kids' education, but I want to make sure retirement is in a good place first before I kind of commit that somewhere else, I guess.
Okay, great. So, Katherine, how old are you?
I am 44.
Are you married, partnered?
Married. My husband is 45.
And you guys both work?
Yes.
How much do you guys earn?
Combined, we earn just over $202,000, and then we do get a little rental income, about $24,000 a year.
Okay, great. And so you've got good cash flow based on that. Are you both using retirement plans?
Yes. My husband is a small business owner, so he has a simple IRA, and we max out his annual contribution of $13,500, and his work provides a 3% match. I work at a public university, so I will receive a pension, and that is split between both a pension and a defined benefit package. I also contribute to my 403B and a 457.
Oh my God. How much are you putting away when you look at your contribution part of it? What are you putting away into that?
My contribution to my 403B, we try to max it. The way my HR has it set up is kind of funny. They won't let you put in a set dollar amount. You have to put a percentage of your paycheck. So I can't exactly match it because it never percentages
right, never
out
quite works, right?
Right.
So you're putting like around $19,500 in the 403B. How much are you putting into the 457?
Right now we put $9,000 a year in the 457.
And are these traditional or Roths?
Both Roth. My husband's simple is a traditional, though.
Do you like what you do at the public university?
I do. The only downfall is my job is completely research-based, which I think is great, but it means it's all funded by what they call soft money or grants. And so I kind of operate on a 2 to 4 year window. You know, we get a grant that might last for 2 years, it might last for 3. The longest I've ever had is 5. So there's always a little bit of question of hopefully that next grant comes along. Okay.
If you were to stick around, tell me about how the pension would work.
The university contributes for me to the pension, 5.5% of my salary. Currently, my last time I logged in to see what my pension benefit was, I kind of basically said if I were to quit my employment when my current grant ends, but then obviously not take my pension until 65, they had it at about $1,400 a month.
That's pretty good if that's like where you are today, and you only have upside in it. There's no downside.
Yes.
How much money have you saved in the 403B and 457 plans?
The 403B balance currently is at $209,000, and the 457 we just opened a couple of years ago. We just started doing that one, and so it's at about $28,000.
And what about your husband's simple?
$355,000.
That's good. Are there any other investments that you have? We'll talk about the rental in a second, but any other investments that you have, like a non-retirement account or 529 account for kids?
My husband and I both have Roth IRAs. His balance is about $134,000. My balance is $160,000. I inherited a 403B back in 2004. Its current balance is at $123,000. And I get an annual distribution from that. I actually just got it 2 days ago, and this year it was $2,600. We also have a brokerage account, and its current balance is at about $126,000. We have an emergency fund at about $53,000. We have another account that is making our current car payments, but it is at just about $34,000. The investment side from my work account is at about $58,000. And then our 2 college funds, we have one for each kid. One is at 51,000 and one is at 41,000.
Wait a minute. You work at a public university. You get any break on tuition?
If they stayed in our state, I believe I would pay it's either 20 or 30% tuition.
I like that plan. Stay in that state, girl. Come on. All right. You guys are in amazing shape. So now tell me about the house and the rental property. So first, let's do the rental property. You say you get about $24,000 a year from the rental property. What's the rental property worth?
This is one of the things that confuses me a little bit, I guess. We are a quarter owners in my husband's office building. So overall, they estimate it's probably worth 1.2, 1.3 million. So we kind of figure our share is about 300,000. It was the sort of thing that was just presented to us about 2 years ago. One of the previous owners needed to be bought out, and the remaining 3 did not want to split up their share. So they offered it to us. Okay. So it was just kind of handed to us all of a sudden. And so it was never a part of my overall financial plan. And so I feel like I don't really know how to think about it. So we receive $2,000 a month in rent for it, but the mortgage payment is only like $1,528. So that's why we have this little bit of extra income. And I don't know, should we?
Oh, I get you. So you're saying that the $24,000 that comes in a year is gross. It's before you pay the mortgage, right?
Correct.
Okay, I got it now. We'll get back to Katherine in just a second. We'll find out whether she's on track or not. Let's see. During the break, we encourage you to go to the website jillonmoney.com and sign up for the free weekly newsletter. Free weekly newsletter. It's great. We'll be right back.
Follow Jill on Twitter and Instagram for more personal finance content. Just use the handle @JillOnMoney. Now, back to the show.
You are back. It's Jill on Money. And, I do think that the most frequently asked question that we field here is, are we on track? And I know it's hard to imagine, but most of you are in pretty darn good shape. But if you find yourself in a situation that, I don't know, maybe you feel a little bit ashamed, maybe things aren't so good, maybe you're not in the place where you want to be, we'd love to hear from you. It doesn't really matter. We just want to know if we can help you out. If you have your financial questions out there, we don't want you to sit with it. We want you to ask us. So it's jillonmoney.com. Hit the contact button, and we would be delighted to help you out. And now let's get back and finish up with Katherine. How old are the kids?
11 and 14.
Is there any reason why you would have to do something in the building where we should keep you a little bit more liquid and having some cash on hand? Like, you make the mortgage payment, but is there some maintenance? Is there going to be some sort of capital call in any way? Anything like that?
So that's a good question. I don't really understand commercial rentals very well, but my husband explains to me that we have a triple net lease. So basically the business pays for any maintenance, any repairs. So we we pay the property tax. That's the only thing. Okay. But that's already set aside before we get our payments.
What's with this account for the car? Is there a car loan or is it a lease?
Yeah, so we have a car loan. We got a new car, but we were able to get 0% interest. So we decided what we were going to do was just put the money in the bank and have that make the payments and earn a little money on the side.
Okay. I'm all for putting more money in the 529. It's weird. Like, have you run your retirement numbers actually?
A little bit. I put them in some online calculators.
Yeah, and it comes out like things are great, right?
It comes out like we're on track, but I am kind of a nervous Nelly. So like I always worry, while I can, should I be socking more away?
I think that, I mean, it sounds to me like education's important. I mean, could you put more away? Sure. You know, like, yeah, you could, but I don't feel like you need to like make yourself so nutty about this. I really don't. I think you've got plenty of cash on hand. You've got, and I also think, as anybody I know who has like been in this kind of soft dollar situation, usually the people who have like succeeded in that are the people who continue to succeed in that. I know that you want to be conservative, which I understand, but I really do think you're probably looking at a higher pension amount in the future, you know, than that 1,400, because I think chances are you're probably going to keep making, you know, being able to get grants and do the work you're going to do. But I like that you're being conservative about it. I mean, I think that putting the money into the 529 plan will work. If you feel at all like nervous, I don't want to overfund it, or if like, let's just like play this out a second. Let's say that your oldest does go to the public institution that you're thinking about, right? And you're hoping for. So let's presume that happens. Then you have whatever extra money can just be pushed down to the next kid. And if you end up not using it, then someone can use it for grad school, or you'll pay a penalty and you'll get the money out. So it's not the worst thing in the world. If you had a whole bunch of extra money, or if it became clear that you're sort of, you know, that one of your kids is going to stay in this in-state and you're going to have a lower expense for college, then so be it. Then you can, you know, jam up the money in your retirement later. So I think it's fine. I think that's perfectly fine.
Okay.
And the only other thing is that if you really do feel like you don't want to tie the money up, you could just put it in the brokerage account. You really could. It's not the worst thing in the world either, but I would use the 529. I think you're in good shape. I really do. Do you have any other issues that are like kind of bugging you right now?
I don't hear many people in like the financial podcasts or things that I listen to talk about commercial real estate. Is there anything that we should keep in mind as like moving forward with being a co-owner of this building? Like,
well, I'll tell you one thing. The only thing to keep in mind is that, you know, what happens to that asset at the end of the day. Is there some sort of agreement that, as like you bought this other person out? Like, what if your husband said, I'm leaving or I'm retiring? What happens to his share? Is there some sort of arrangement set up, a legal arrangement where you have a buy-sell agreement that's in place for when someone retires? And if they don't, then I would do that. I would actually have a lawyer kind of deal with that. But the only thing you need to worry about is that, you know, you got a few $100,000 that's floating out there that's hard to make liquid without some sort of agreement ahead of time.
Okay.
But that's it.
Okay.
You have wills?
Yes.
Do you have life insurance?
Yes.
You're in great shape. You should enjoy it. Stop stressing out so much. You're doing what you need to be doing. You really are. I'll tell you when you need to stress out. You don't need to stress out about this. You're in great shape. You really are. Okay. And if you can just remember this or put this on a loop, just hear this, like, Katherine's husband, you're in very good shape. Don't worry. Don't stress. No stressing. Keep your jobs. Keep doing what you're doing and get those kids to in-state school. Boy, you'll feel a lot less stressed if that's the case. I'll tell you that much, right?
Yeah.
Don't worry. You're really in good shape. Okay. It's very easy, right? You hear us walk through the steps with each of you who comes on the air with us. If you would like that to happen, just go to JillOnMoney.com, click the contact button. It's so easy. You can read stuff that I've written and listen to old shows, watch TV segments, and sign up for the free weekly newsletter. Okay, we'll be right back. You're back. It's Jill on Money. And before we go to the break, the mid-break, I'd love to answer a question of yours. And if you do have a question, all you need to do is go to the website, jillonmoney.com, and click on the contact button. Liz writes, my daughter is in 10th grade. She wants to go to college out of state, California to be exact. Oh boy. Liz, I wish you were from California. That's the only reason to go to college in California. Okay, Liz goes on. She says, I've got $90,000 in her 529 plan. And here's the question. Is it wise to continue to put $30,000, two parents contributing, into the plan for the next 2 years in this 529 plan? Or should I just keep it as cash? If the market were to drop, I'm worried I would lose 20 to 30% of the 529 before she goes off to college. Well, Liz, why not just put it in the 529 plan and put it in a interest-bearing account? Most of the plans, I don't know which plan you have, actually have an investment option of a stable account or a money market fund. I mean, even though it's not a ton of money, I love the idea that the money is protected from taxation. And that way you could feel confident that the money would be there. Also, you may want to just double check the investment structure and the choices you've made for the investments, because if you're in an age-based plan, hopefully there isn't a lot of volatility that is starting to creep into the account. In fact, they should be winding back the amount of risk they're taking. But again, if you have chosen really risky stuff, you may want to rebalance that and really keep an eye on it. But yes, I would say use the 529 plan, and I agree you should try to keep the investment structure, for at least for the new money, to be lower risk. Okay, we're about to go to a break, and here's what you're going to do during the break. You are going to go to jillonmoney.com. You're going to bookmark it. If you have a question, of course, hit the contact button, but have that bookmarked. It'll help you. It really will. Okay, we'll be right back.
It's the weekend, and that can only mean one thing. You're listening to Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
You are back. It's hour number 2. Gosh, the time flies by. It really does. And it's Jill on Money. And we are here to try to help answer your financial questions, but maybe really more importantly, to help you figure out how to make the next best financial decision for you. And it really does not matter what the topic is. A lot of you will write in about your retirement. Am I on track? Okay, that's great. But for many of you, there might be smaller issues, or there might be areas of concern. Maybe some of these issues are a little emotional. I know I'm not a shrink, but often your emotional barriers are preventing you from getting ahead financially, or at least making a really smart financial decision. If that's you, if you're feeling that, just give us a holler. How? Go to jillonmoney.com. That's our website. All of our content lives there. But also, and importantly, our contact button is there for you. And no matter where you go, whether you're reading a column or you're watching a TV segment or you're checking out old shows or maybe looking at the resource section, wherever you are, the contact button is there for you. And we'd really love to hear from you. That is what makes the show so great. It's not me. It's not Mark. It's you. And if you've got a question, we really, really would love to hear from you. And we'd love to have you come on the air with us. There is nothing more satisfying than having one of you join us in the Capital One Bank virtual studios. Capital One, this is Banking Reimagined. What's in your wallet? And to start off our second hour here in the Capital One Bank virtual studios, we are going to talk to Mike in Buffalo, who has recently retired. Hi, Mike. How can we help you?
I just recently retired from the fire department. I did 28 years. I retired fairly young. I'm single. I don't have any kids. My house is paid up. I really don't have a lot of bills. I don't live above my means. I don't try to keep up with the Joneses. I live very modestly. And I just want to make sure that my future is appropriately secured. I'm 51 and I really, I could be here another 20, 30, 40 years. And I just want to make sure that I'm going to be secured in years to come.
Tell me about the pension you receive after being a firefighter for 28 years.
Well, I retired last year. Presently, I receive a New York State pension. My pension is $7,550 a month. After taxes, I bring home about $6,000, a little bit more than that. I have a small, very modest pension from the military. That's $300. I have a per diem job. I only work when I want to work. So that's nice. And I only make maybe 10 grand there a year.
Okay.
But it just keeps me busy. I don't work that much. Presently, I have $35,000 in cash. My household bills are about $700 a month. And then I usually have probably another $700, $800, $900 just for spending gas and things like that and entertainment. I have a small car payment of only $340 a month.
When's that up?
I have another 3 years left.
Okay, that's fine.
And then I have an RV payment of $230 a month. And then I maintain a $2,000 Visa bill because I want to maintain credit, because when you don't have credit, that's when your credit score goes down, just in case in the future, you never know.
So when you say a $2,000 bill, explain that to me. You mean you're running $2,000 a month and you're paying it off every month, or you're carrying forward?
No, I pay it. I pay probably double the payment, but I just like keeping some kind of balance on my Visa just to maintain credit scores.
But what you're saying, I want to make sure I really understand this, okay? I don't mean to be a dope. $2,000, are you saying you're actually carrying forward a payment, or it gets zeroed out every month?
No, I carry forward. I pay.
Okay, hold on. Let me just stop you right there.
Sure.
You don't need to do that. Credit is not established in that way. Credit is established based on the timeliness of your paying off that debt, and carrying it forward will not help your credit score. You probably have a perfect credit score, but you do not need to worry about that. So let's pay that off completely. Okay. We're done. Yeah. I mean, are you paying interest? You're probably paying a little bit of interest every month, but let's pay it off.
9%.
Yeah. Let's pay that off. Don't need to do that. So no more credit card bill. I'm Xing that out, and I'm saying you have $33,000 in cash now.
Okay. That would be fine.
Okay, now my other question is, so $1,600 a month is like sort of your standard spending. On top of that, though, there's like, let's call it another $600 a month between the RV and the car, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And is that it, would you say? Like those are the basic bills? Okay, great.
That's it.
You're a net saver is what you're telling me, right?
Yes.
Because essentially, if I look at this, if you have pension money of $6,000 a month, and you're only spending let's even say $2,500 a month, you should be net saving money every month.
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. Now, through New York State pension, does that also come with your health insurance?
Yes, I get free health insurance for the rest of my life.
As you should, as a firefighter.
Thank you.
It's amazing. What else do we need to know about you? How about, did you save money in a deferred compensation plan?
Yes, I presently have $200,000 in a 457 plan.
Okay.
And then I have $275,000 in a structured capital strategy 16B. And they've been doing very well for me. And unfortunately, with the 457, I can't contribute anymore, but they've done very, very well, even during the pandemic. and I really can't complain about them not doing well. They've done fantastic for me.
Okay, but wait
And
a second. Just so I understand this,
sure.
you have an IRA. This is or what is this is an annuity, is what I'm hearing
Yes.
from you.
Yes.
Okay, so this is an annuity. What I want to understand is this in an IRA or is this in an old 403b?
No, this is an IRA.
So you have an IRA, and where is that IRA held?
It's AXA.
Okay, so it's AXA Financial, which is a big insurance company.
Yeah.
All right, so you have, I think, a variable annuity. When did you do that? A year ago when you retired?
Yeah, what I did is I took some of my deferred comp
Yep.
and I rolled it over into the structured
I
capital
got you.
strategy.
Okay, so here's the deal. You can't do anything with it right now because I think you're tied up for 5 years,
Yes,
essentially.
that is correct.
Okay, so when that is up, I would not encourage you to do that again, only because it's a high fee structure. What is in the 457 plan? How do you invest that?
I have a mid cap, a small cap, large cap. I have a portion of it into a stable income fund.
Okay, good. Okay, we're going to continue with Mike in just a second. But during the break, again, there's so much information that's out there. You can find a lot of your help and support right on our website, jillonmoney.com. We'll be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. And we are going to get back to our conversation with recently retired Mike from Buffalo in just a second. But, we have so many of these conversations every single week. And sometimes I get a little bit worried that you guys are asking us these very important questions when you might need a deeper conversation with someone who is doing financial planning full time, as a career. Whereas Mark and I are certified financial planners, we kind of are doing this show off the side of our desks. We have other jobs. But if you think you might need professional help, I encourage you to check out our sponsor, Facet Wealth. Facet Wealth is able to create a goal-based financial planning model for you and your family. And it is one that's importantly from a dedicated certified financial planner. You're not going to get a random call center person. These are professionals who are fiduciaries. They've got to work in your best interest. They are providing flat fee, conflict-free financial planning. It's amazing to me that they're able to do this. It's accessible to all different kinds of people, and they are able to do this without any minimums. There's no wealth minimum. There's no account minimum. Facet meets you where you are. And so if you're interested, check it out, facetwealth.com. Okay, now, we've got to get back to Mike. So let's do that. All right. Can I go big picture? Let me go straight in for the kill here. You ready?
Sure.
You're in amazing shape. You're in amazing shape. Obviously, just from a cash flow perspective, having, $6,000 a month after tax and your health insurance is paid for and you have expenses, which, I'm going to even inflate it. Let's say it was $3,000 a month because you start saying I want to take a really nice vacation every year. You're a net saver. Fantastic. Your to-do list is very short. So number one is that, I guess, how much is the car loan and how much is the RV loan?
The RV loan, I just got the new RV this year. So I think my RV loan is, I think it's like $12,000. And I have, I think, $15,000 left on my truck.
Do you know the interest rates on these?
Yes. The truck is 2.9.
Okay.
And the RV is, I believe it is 3.4.
You know what I would say? You know that extra cash flow that's coming in, that $3,000 difference? What I would do is forgetting about putting, because you said something interesting. You're like, oh, I can't put more money in my 457 plan.
Right.
What I would do is I would accelerate paying down the car loan and the RV loan. And the only reason why is that I think it's good for you to be thinking like, I want to have some cash on hand, which you do, but like your cash isn't earning anything right now, right? It's kind of bupkis. So I would just take my extra cash flow and pay down the car loan, pay down the RV loan. It would be essentially like if I said to you, wouldn't it be great if you could have 3.2% guaranteed interest on your savings account? You'd say like, oh my God, that'd be fantastic. Well, you can get that by paying these two loans down. You know, the 2.9 to 3.4, get it done. So, put more down on the RV loan first, get that taken care of. You can put a couple $1,000s down every month. Boom, done. Boom, 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 boom. Get that done. Pay down the card loan, accelerate that. And then once you have that, now my big question to you is, with that extra cash, tell me what you want to do with that cash. Do you want to start a non-retirement saving investment account? Do you want to pile up more cash because it makes you feel better? What's your hope for that money?
It's funny that you ask me what I want to do in the future with my money. My question is you said that you wouldn't want me to do that again in the 5 years for the structured capital. If I don't do that, what could I do with that? Let's say at the end of the 5 years, I have 350,000 or whatever.
Yeah. What are you going to do with that? So
what do I do with that so I don't have the tax burden? Because I don't plan on touching any of my money investments until I'm 72.
First of all, none of this money that is in the 457 plan or in the IRA, you don't have to worry about a tax implication until you are 72. So once that IRA, the structured note, is up in 5 years, the reason why I want you to get out of it is that it's an expensive way to invest. Now, if you want to stay with the advisor, who's probably not really an advisor, is probably just an insurance salesperson.
Yeah, he's actually a fireman that I work with.
Oh, yeah. So you think about this. Your brother just hosed you on this product. So if you'd like to, I've had this with people who are like, you mean my brother-in-law hosed me? I'm like, yes, that's true. Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. It's not terrible. It doesn't really matter because you're in such good financial shape, but it's a more expensive way to invest. And so ideally, at some point, maybe in 5 years, you take the 457 plan, you take the IRA, and we're going to combine them into one account. You're basically going to have one retirement account, one IRA account. Okay. There's going to be $500,000 in that. And then we have to decide what you want to do with that account. If you want that account managed for you, you could just go to Fidelity and say, like, I want to open up an account here and I want to use like your fun little Fidelity service. I think it's Fidelity Go, and it'll be invested for you for a very, very cheap amount of money. Like you're probably paying 3% for that structured note. The Fidelity service is like 0.25%. So what I think you should do is at the end of that period, and we'll stay in touch. I'll be around in 5 years and 4 years. Don't worry. So what you would want to do is you would want to combine it into one account. You have one investment purpose, which is, hey, I want to have some upside, a limited downside. I'm probably not going to spend this money. You're going to invest it very cheaply with index funds or use what is called a robo-advisor, a robotic. It's basically like an algorithm to help manage your money and call it a day and not spend the money with your buddy who is, collected a commission for selling you a product. You don't need that product.
If I take that at the end of the 5 years, can I put that back into the 457?
I think you may be able to. That's interesting.
Without having a tax burden.
Yeah. Well, first of all, there's one of two things that can happen. Either you can roll it back in the 457 and all the money can be there, or you can actually just create one new IRA rollover account where the 457 money goes and this money goes. Okay. So it can all be combined. But you'll have to find out because the money that went into that structured note, did it come from the 457 or a 403B?
457.
I think you can roll it right back in, and which would be ideal. And then you're like, boom, done. Keep it there.
All right. And then the last question I have, and this may be a stupid question, but just bear with me. I do have, I'm able to save a few $1,000s a month after everything is said and done. So would it be advisable? So a couple of people have told me, and I'm very skeptical, is investing in cryptocurrency.
If you wanted to do a little bit, but can you pay down that car loan and the RV loan first?
Sure.
All right. So if you do that, fine. If you want to play with crypto for a couple $1,000s and just try it out, that's fine. It's like saying what's the nearest casino to you guys?
That would be the Seneca Casino.
Okay. So it's like sort of saying like, I'm going to the Seneca Casino. I'm going to have some fun and I could lose all the money or I might make some money. That's the kind of money I want you to put on this. Like if you wanted to say, once that car loan is paid down and I've got like 30, 40 grand still in cash and everything's good and I want to, throw a couple $1,000s into the mix, maybe 10 total. Sure, why not? But don't count on that money. That's money. That's fun money from the investment perspective, okay? If you want to join us, just like Mike did, it's very easy to do. You can go to the website, jillonmoney.com. While you're there, you may want to do this. You want to sign up for our free weekly newsletter. Does it sound like I'm shilling for that newsletter? I am. I'm really trying to get as many people as possible to sign up for it because it's free. Mark does a great job. There's so much fantastic content. It's every Friday. It would make me look like kind of a hero with my new book publisher. So help me out, would you? JillOnMoney.com. Sign up for the free weekly newsletter. Okay, we will be right back.
Welcome back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger takes the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. Now, you may remember that a while back, we were talking a lot about the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early. And luckily, so many of you have actually helped us update this because we have now learned that it's not so much you want to retire early, you just want a new or next endeavor. So let's talk to Sandy in Maryland, who would like to join the FINE movement.
Hi, Jill. Hi, Mark. Thank you so much for having me.
Great that you are joining us. Tell us what's on your mind. How can we help you out?
So recently my husband and I have started to look at our numbers and we want to kind of join this FINE/FIRE movement. And we're thinking we could do it potentially, we would be about 6 years out. So we're both about 48.
You're both 48. Hold on. And what do you guys do? Like, what do you do for a living?
I'm a lab technician. I do DNA and RNA sequencing.
Oh my God, you're very sought after these days.
Well, I don't know. The pay's not so great, but.
What's your husband do?
He does a lot of behavioral health assessment, monitoring of behavioral health programs for the state.
Okay. How much do you guys make together?
We're at about 180 together.
Do you have kids?
No.
That's why you can do this whole idea of a different endeavor for your future. Tell us a little bit more. Do you own a home or do you rent?
We own.
How much is the house worth?
Currently, it should be about $350,000.
Okay. Is there a mortgage on it?
No.
Okay. How about your emergency reserve fund? What do you got?
We have about $87,000 in emergency reserve.
Okay. And you're both employed or are either of you self-employed?
Nope, both employed.
Do you guys each have retirement plans?
Yes.
Tell me about those. How much do you contribute to your retirement right now?
Okay, so our retirement is through the university. So there's a little bit of a hodgepodge of numbers and alphabet soup almost. I went ahead and I'm going to add everything up so that it's just the two of us together. For both of us, we have a 457. Our 457 money is at about 238. We have 403B at 846. Now, they just started a 403b Roth, which we kind of switched our contributions and are putting it in there. So right now that only has 4,000 in it.
But all future contributions in the 403b will be Roth.
Correct.
Okay. And are you putting 19,500 each into those?
Yes.
And what about the 457? What are you putting in there?
I'm putting in 15,000 and he's putting in the 19.5. And then we also have what they call the optional retirement plan, which was the plan that you do instead of a pension. So that the university puts 8% of your salary into it, but you're not allowed to contribute to it.
What's in there?
There's 301,000 there.
And is that like a cash balance plan, or would it be converted to monthly or lifetime income?
It would be converted to monthly. It would be, I mean, it's invested kind of the same way our 403b and our 457 is. You had the option, and we weren't smart enough to take a pension. We didn't know we would be in Maryland for the rest of our lives.
I get you.
We had been moving a lot. So, it was either you had to make a choice of, yes, you were going to stay here 5 years or not. And, well, we hadn't lived anywhere long enough yet.
That's all right. You make the best decision you can in the moment. So that's a bunch of money. Do you have any money outside of retirement assets?
We each also fully fund a Roth every year. So there's 353 in a traditional, or not traditional, but a Roth IRA for each. So together it's 353.
353,000 in Roths.
Correct.
Great.
Recently started a brokerage account, and right now there's only 62,000 there.
Only. Boy, if you came across 62,000, you didn't know you had it, you wouldn't say, "Oh, it's only." You'd say, "Oh, I can't."
No, but I say only because if I'm thinking of trying to stop working at 55, 56.
Why are you going to stop working at 55? Like, what's happening?
So where we work, it's pretty high stress. So we're not really going to stop working. My goal would probably be try to find another job. My husband wants to try to teach English. Maybe it's because he had to deal with me, but English is actually not my first language. So.
What's your first language?
Spanish. Both my parents are from Colombia, so I grew up speaking Spanish primarily in the house, and then English at school. I don't really know what I want to do. I think I want to go walk dogs.
I love that idea. So let's talk about whether you can do that. Let's roll the clock, okay? You're 55 years old. Here's what I've got for you. Without too much growth, I mean, just the amount of money you're putting into these accounts, in 7 years, you're going to have probably somewhere between $2.5 and $3 million. 2.5 is really like no growth, and 3 million is kind of normal growth. What is it that we need to have you do in terms of creating some part-time income to support yourselves? Like, how much do you need?
So Jeff and I don't spend very much. He lovingly calls me Smaug, the dragon from Lord of the Rings who sits on our pile of gold. But
well, what do you spend now? I mean, you got no mortgage, but what do you think you spend right now?
I put together the last couple of months, and we spend about $5,000 a month.
Oh my God, that's easy. Okay, great. And do you think that you guys, between the two of you, could come together and make $5,000 a month?
I think we could, because we're both thinking, hey, if we're basically living on one salary, we're basically living on one of our paychecks. If we both work part-time, we'd be at the same spot.
Right. What are we going to do for health insurance at age 55 for you guys?
So that's where the university is great, because I will have been here the 25 years necessary to cover both of us.
Oh, that's huge. We'll get back to our conversation with Sandy in just a second. If you've got a financial question, you want to join the FINE movement, go to JillOnMoney.com and click the contact button. We'll be right back.
Follow Jill on Twitter and Instagram for more personal finance content. Just use the handle @JillOnMoney. Now, back to the show.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. Let's get right back into it. We're going to talk to Sandy about her fine movement.
One of my big questions now is that, do I keep putting the money as much as I am right now into these plans and then just start drawing from those? Or do I pull the contribution and start just putting it in a brokerage account?
I mean, look, you're not in a terrible tax situation, right? Because if we just look at this, I know you don't have a mortgage, but even if we just looked at, do you claim a standard deduction now or do you have itemized right now?
Standard.
Okay. So, I mean, if we look at your standard deduction, you're pretty much in the 22% tax bracket. And so, I don't feel like you have to go crazy putting so much money away, especially pre-tax. I am inclined, Mark, weigh in what you think. I am inclined that I would like you over the course of we're looking at targeting 55. So in the next 7 years, I don't feel like you guys need to put so much money into the 457 plan. I really don't. And in fact, I would love to see you bulk up that brokerage account. Pay the tax that's due, earn your money, put the money in the brokerage account, and it's available for you. Because I do think you want to give yourselves a little bit of a cushion that from, say, 50, let's just say the 10 or 12 years between when you stop at the university and you claim your Social Security benefit, that you have money that's already been taxed. And I think that would really be great for you. If you just look at even just the 457, if you put that $35 or $36,000 into your brokerage account, and even just stop with just your Roth contributions themselves, and if you could just end up putting in $45,000 a year in your brokerage account for the next 7 years, that would go a long way to help you transition from full-time to part-time. Okay. And now, how do you feel about that when you hear that?
I feel scary. I feel I don't know. I've always been just in the mindset of I guess part of me always thought, oh my God, as soon as I turn 50, I can actually dump more into retirement.
You could, but I'm not sure it makes a ton of sense. I mean, I think that having a fat brokerage account is almost more helpful to you than a fat retirement account. Your retirement's kind of set. Even if you go beyond this, what would be your Social Security benefit at your full retirement age? Do you know that number?
I do. I actually looked this up last night.
Of course you do. Sandy. Sandy, the lay CFP. What's the number? It's age 67 or something. What is it?
At 67, I would bring in $2,700. He would bring in $3,400.
Okay. So, I mean, we're talking about 12 years, okay? 12 years that you have to worry about. And during those 12 years, I think you would be happy to have some money that's already been taxed. And that's really the issue here. Theoretically, you could just keep putting, and that's the other thing is that I don't really think that you need to kill yourself in terms of tax liability. But if you really are concerned about that, you could essentially just say, I'm only going to do Roth contributions and I know that we'll be fine. And, you'll have some money that's taxed at a higher rate or lower rate or whatever. But I don't know, the one area that seems a little light to me is the money that's already been taxed, because you're going to have this dozen-year period from age 55 to 67 where you may not want to work as hard. You may not want the pressure of saying, well, we have to bring in $5,000 a month, and then you wouldn't have to. You could always say if you had, let's say, a few $100,000 in a brokerage account, you could just say, I'm just going to take $1,000 a month out of there, or $2,000 a month out of there, and who cares if we deplete it? It just doesn't matter. There's also going to be a really cool opportunity for you that if you build up that brokerage account, what you also might be able to do is, when you get, and again, we don't know what the tax law is going to be, but let's just pretend that everything stays as is. Then at age 55, when you have a much lower income, you can start converting some of your traditional money into Roth money and pay the tax due, because you'll be in a lower tax bracket.
Okay.
So I think brokerage is really that seems to me the missing part of this, that to have money that's already been taxed is going to give you more flexibility. You can totally do this. You can start the dog walking business. He can start teaching English or Spanish, depending on how good he is at Spanish, and be very comfortable knowing you can do that. But it's that money that's already been taxed that's going to give you many more choices when you get to age 55. Now, Mark, do you think that there's a high possibility that when Sandy gets to age 55, she's like, oh, but I just like making money so much I can't do it? Because that's what I think. Yeah, like I want to turn 50 so I can put the extra $6,000 in. You don't spend money. God bless you. Is there anyone in your family that you have to still take care of?
No, my mom's actually really is well. She's fine. She's still healthy.
What about on your husband's side?
There's a potential that we would have to help his mother more. But again, she's got enough to meet her needs currently. I think that, make sure you've got your estate documents. I know it's just the two of you, but get those documents, keep saving money, consider putting more money in brokerage, and then let's execute your financial independence next endeavor. Okay, if you'd like to come on the air with us, just go to JillOnMoney.com, click the contact button. Don't forget to check the box that says you'll come on the air. We'll be right back. You're back. It's Jill on Money, and I know it's so sad. We don't want to go either. We really don't. But we are closing in on the end of the program. So let's do one last question from you. This is from Betty. Betty wants to know, is it worth hanging on to a whole life policy even if your kids are grown? She says she made a mistake buying this policy after her son was already grown, meaning that she probably didn't have a big life insurance need. But she was sold this policy, right? She was said, oh, it's the best policy to have. So the answer is the reason to hang on to a whole life insurance policy is if you do need coverage for your whole life. What does that mean? It means that if you're funding something upon your death, like you're funding a trust for estate planning purposes, or you're funding a trust for a special needs child, that's when you do need this permanent kind of coverage. But if you're telling me that your son is grown and is self-sufficient and no longer relies on you, and nor does anyone else, then you probably don't need this policy. Couple of things to remember. I don't know how recently you bought the policy, but if it's in the last 5, 6, 7, even 10 years, you might have a penalty for getting out of it. So that's called a surrender charge. Just find out what that is. And if you're just going to cash out of it, what I would make sure I find out is whether or not there's any tax due, because there can be if this is a really old policy. But the good news is you'll probably get a few bucks, and, I bet you could do more with it than having it in an expensive whole life policy. I hope that helps. Okay, so now that's it. That's the program. We're all done. I can't believe it. It goes by so quickly. As a reminder, everything that we do is on our website, JillOnMoney.com. The contact button is there, so click that contact button. Let us know if you want to come on the air live with us. And also, we've got great articles, listen to old shows, subscribe to our 2 podcasts, Jill on Money and I on Money. And don't forget to sign up for the free weekly newsletter. It's all there, everything there, JillOnMoney.com. Thank you for listening. Our music is composed by Joel Goodman. Mark Talercio is our executive producer. Do something nice for someone today. Talk to you next week.